Coach, what's the spring been like for your guys, for kind of your group, and a couple of new faces, but some guys that are back as well that have some experience?
Yeah, I think they're working really hard. The guys that have been here for a couple of years, guys that played for us last year, are a step ahead, which they should be. Because when you come back from the offseason, you reinstall the whole offense and you treat it as if no one knows anything. So the guys that played for us last year, you know, they're a step ahead. They're playing a little faster. So Chris and Jimmy and Jaden, you know, they look faster, and more aggressive. But you know, Colin Lacey has really gotten better. He could run with the ball. He's a strong runner. But in regards to his route running and you know, playing at our pace and the speed that we want to play with, he's really developed, you know, over spring ball. And then Jacory's not doing much. He's doing individual, so we've seen him run routes and, you know, work. And he looks really impressive. But they're doing good. They're working hard. He's trying to master the fundamentals, techniques, master the scheme.
What's that like with such a deep group and trying to get those rotations, see where everybody's at right now as far as in those practices?
Yeah, well, we're not really trying to decide on our rotation now. We're just practicing, trying to learn, trying to develop fundamentally. When we get to training camp, we'll start thinking about the personnel groupings and how the rotations work. But right now, everybody's just trying to get a little bit better.
When you bring in so many guys, I mean, they're new faces, but they're veterans as well. Is it easier for that group to mesh and to come together because of the college experience that they all have?
Well, I don't know, because this transfer thing has just started, you know what I mean? But I know that they've done a really good job as a group, you know, getting to know each other, embracing Jacory, Colin, and Antonio. We got JoJo here also, you know, that's new. They've done a really good job of, you know, embracing those guys and teaching them the way we go about our business in the meeting room. And Thrash is in the meeting room a lot nowadays, so they're really on those guys about how we're going to act and how we believe in doing things in our building.
You mentioned he's around. I mean, how valuable is to have a guy like that around in your meetings?
It's really good. When he first got back from the combine, he was able to come in there and tell them, you know, what it's like to be at the combine and the questions that he gets asked. And he was able to say that, you know, some of those questions, man, I really did learn in this room. You know, the way this offense is set up, the certain formations that we run are the same exact terms that these NFL guys were looking for. And he was able to say that to the group when they were asking him questions about coverage. And, you know, he was able to say the way they're teaching it here is exactly what they were wanting me to say at the combine. So just really good, just a good kid, and he's good to be around.
I know the personnel is just a little bit different, but how far along do you think the wide receiver room is now compared to this time last year?
We're further along because we got some guys that have been in the system for the second year. Even guys that didn't play. I mean, Hicks, we call him Blue. So if I ever say Blue, I'm talking about Hicks. I don't want to say his first name because I screw it up all the time. We just call him Blue. But even him, he's been in the system for a full season now. He hadn't played, but so they're further along because when we got here last year, no one had been in the system.
Garrick, for you, just not only with your experience as an offensive coordinator, quarterback coach as well, what have you seen from Tyler, and just how is that relationship growing with the wide receivers and him bringing in the quarterback?
I like him a lot. He's a natural leader. It's like he doesn't have to try to lead, just the way he goes about his business. I like the way that he communicates with the guys around him. He's going to push them, but at the same time, he accepts the responsibilities sometimes. You know, I like him a lot. I think he's an advantage. Some of the things that he's doing on the practice field is very impressive considering he's just got in the offense. He has a way to throw the ball with different arm angles. So, you know, if they're rushing him, he can get it out underneath, he can get it out on top. Our guys love him. I like that guy a lot. I think he's going to be a major advantage for us.
What the next, I guess, step for Chris in his game as far as from what you saw last year and now this spring moving forward?
Yeah, well, Chris, you know, his first year, he didn't play much. right? Last year he was a full-time player, so that was his first time being out there. And understanding, you know, the day-to-day preparations that go into the season and winning games, how you take care of your body, how you study things, and then ultimately how you have to go compete, control your emotions. Now he's a third-year player, but a second-year full-time player. So we can see his maturity he's a leader. He's not wondering, he doesn't have Thrash and Amari guys that he looked up to. He's the big dog now. And we can see that with the way he handles himself. He's still a work in progress when it comes to handling himself emotionally. He could get mad if someone hits him the wrong way. He could get mad and start playing a very violent style of football. But he's a leader now. He's not an underclassman. He's a junior now, and we see it. His route running he's much quicker. His hands are better. He just has a better understanding of what we're doing. And he's a leader now.
He brings something different because of the physicality, doesn't he, to your room?
Well, I think he's a different type of athlete because he's big and strong and physical, but he's just as fast as the little guys. So he's just a different athlete.
Coach, just gearing up for the spring game, from this point on till the spring game itself, what do you want to see from this group, and what will that game do for this group, especially with those new faces?
Yeah, well, we just want to get one day better. It's how our program's set up. Just want to get a little bit better today and try to win the day. That's it, and that's all we want to see. We want to see them take every practice serious. Not get in a mode where we're winding down because they're going to start hearing a lot of, in these last few days, type of questions. And we don't want that. We just want you to go out every day and win the day. Get a little bit better today.
You were recruiting Antonio Misa in the portal. What stood out to you about his performance and how has he got acclimated so far?
He's doing a good job. We're trying to figure out where to use him. Is he an outside receiver? He's something. Because his hands, he's just a natural catcher of the football. He understands how to move his body. Now that he's learning more and more about the offense and doesn't have to think so much, you can see his speed come to life. But he's a solid receiver that's really going to help us. He's going to convert a lot of third downs for us. I bet on him.
You mentioned how some of those wide receivers being in the system for a second year is a reason why the room as a whole has kind of progressed farther along than this time last year. How have those guys like Jaden, Jimmy, and Chris, are they serving like as a leader like in this room, considering they have that experience?
Yeah, they are. They know me very well, so they know when certain things are going on in the meeting room. They know what I would say before I even get in there, so they can clean some of the stuff up. They understand, what Coach Brom expects from the receivers, so they're able to share that with the kids also. So they're doing a really good. Not only are second-year players, they're upperclassmen. So they should know what's going on around here, and they are. They do.
What do you have with Blue? I've seen in practices, we've seen him make some plays and do some things. What do you like about him, and what can we have?
He has a personality that's fearless. He can make catches, and he has a stride that. Now there's going to be an argument in the locker room if we bring this up that he's one of the fastest guys we have for sure. Now there's a lot of guys in there that's going to argue that point, but he's fast. He can catch the ball, and he's fearless. And he's got one of the best personalities we've ever seen.
JoJo was a guy who's kind of a highly rated guy as a senior, but didn't get to play much. What have you seen from him? Obviously, coming in spring is quite valuable for a true freshman, but what have you seen from him so far?
JoJo's a good player. He had the ankle injury that, he got dealt with before he got here. We had to rehab it up and get it right, so he's still getting his speed back to where it should be, but he's doing good. There's a lot to learn, for a kid that really could still be in high school right now, and he's on campus competing against these guys, and he's in class, he's in study hall, and he's learning a complex system. So we understand that, and we'll expect him in training camp to settle in. He'll know what's going on, and then I think we'll see him play really fast. But he's doing a good job. He's a good player.
With all the additions that have been made on offense, the offensive line has depth and size. Tyler Shough's looked good as QB, and there's some additional options at tight end. When you're watching some of these 7-on-7 and 11-on-11 practice periods, are you seeing that because of the added depth and added options in the passing game that some of the wide receivers are maybe having a little bit of an easier time getting separation, making plays than maybe this time last year?
No, because Quincy Riley is out there. You know, those guys, Corey Thornton. I mean, we got some defensive backs that know how to play also. So, no, it's never easy. If you don't do what you're supposed to do and do it exactly the way you're supposed to do it, you're not going to beat Quincy Riley ever. That's my answer.
Garrick, you guys, you were here before, you know this program, you talked about it last year about when this thing is going good, what it can be. You guys won 10 games. Have you seen a difference, when you call a recruit, when you're talking to a recruit, have you seen a difference as far as the perception after year one as you guys head into year two?
Not necessarily. I mean, because as the recruiter, I think this place is a big time program that should compete 1 week at a time for championships. That it's not just we go compete for championships. No, we got to have great practices. We got to have great performances on game day, and we feel like we can do it each week, and we can recruit the guys to do it. But I thought that the last time I was here, so the message is still the same. This is Louisville. We have certain expectations, and our fans have certain expectations of us, and we have everything set up that we need. There's not many teams with, you know, nicer things than we have. So the message to the recruits are the same. It is the same, that, you know, we expect to go after it one day at a time.
Going back to Antonio real quick, how much does that versatility just help you guys in, you know, different situations?
Yeah, well, it's always good to have guys that can play multiple spots, so that during the season, if you were to have an injury somewhere, you can plug guys in to certain spots. And when you understand the inside slot and the outside, then you understand how to fit into the concept wherever you are. You understand it's not just about me running a route, it's a whole concept versus a coverage. So that's why it's good to have guys that are, you know, can play multiple spots.
Talking about leadership and just big time program, having Ja'Cory come over from Alabama, what kind of presence does he bring to this team, and knowing that he's been with the best of the best and he's been to the highest matchups in games as well?
He's doing a good job. But because we are Louisville, just because you went to a certain school doesn't mean you come in here and we say you're the great. We don't. You know, this is about what you're doing on the practice field every day, how you carry yourself in the meeting, and he's doing a good job. But him being from a certain school doesn't hold any clout in this building.
Thank you, Coach.